Welcome to Outside Game, the podcast. I am the host with the most, Keith Bulluck, joined by my main man, Don Povia, as always, riding shotgun. What's up, Don?
What's up, Mr. Monday Night, and welcome back. Super Bowl week, class of 2000 representing. How was that game? Everything you expected?
You know what? I'm a little, look, the game sucked. First and foremost, I'm happy Tom Brady won. Class of 2000 represented. I just feel that, Tampa Bay would have won regardless. Their defense came out ready to play, answered all the calls. But I just feel like the refs affected things, too early in the game. It's the Super Bowl, last game of the year, biggest game of the year. Let them play a little bit. You know what I mean? And if you're going to call it both sides. But those calls... And I won't go through I won't go through them, but it wouldn't have helped Tampa win. Kansas City win. It would have made it a much better game through that. It just would have made it a better game. But it was Tampa's game to win. They played lights out.
Well, I'll tell you, NFL has become just a year-round spectacle. There's always something going on. We just left Senior Bowl, CGS. The game, some of them got canceled, NFLPA. Shriners Bowl, and moving into pro days and combine, which was again canceled. So actually our guests this week want to talk about the process that guys are going through, not too far removed from this process himself. We're joined by Kenneth Farrow. Kenneth came out in 2016.
Yes, sir.
2016, signed as an undrafted free agent with the then San Diego Chargers. Started some games there, but really has been a guy that has seen it all in professional football. Went over to the AAF, was one of the top rushers in that league before it folded. Went over to the XFL, was a captain in Seattle, doing some good things out there. And then next thing we know, they go bankrupt. And that brings Kenneth to where he is now with what he started. It's called the United Football Players Association. Keith and I are both advisors on that and well aware of that, but we wanted to kind of bring that to light and talk a little bit about, as Keith said before we hopped on, what brought you here. So Kenneth, the process that these guys are going through right now, what are you hearing from them, and how do you kind of use your experience to help guide these guys through?
It's different, right? It's unlike anything that probably any of us went through coming out of college and getting into the league with the COVID stuff and shut down. So, when you talk to them, it's been a lot of just trying to find ways to keep them focused and kind of really just looking at things day by day, because there's been so much uncertainty for them. They were going, when we were at CGS and we were talking to guys, it was like, they didn't know if they'd have a game for 4 weeks and everyone got canceled, and then guys opting out, guys not playing, and then coming out and finding out that some of the all-star games aren't available. And I know for me specifically, CGS was a huge platform for me because I had an ankle injury coming out, couldn't do the Reese's Senior Bowl. But this is a whole nother monster with this whole COVID kind of shutting guys out. You take a whole class of guys who don't have, their regular pro days, their regular combines. And it's just about, getting out there when you do have that opportunity, and you gotta shine, on another level. And hopefully that film that you did get throughout your college career kind of pushes you through that. But they're definitely kind of in uncharted waters. So being able to just give them as much experience from, what we gave, what we were trying to do out there.
So for myself, when for those who aren't familiar, CGS is a college gridiron showcase. It's another platform for guys that don't get the opportunity to go to the Senior Bowl or go to the Hula Bowl. Is there still a Hula Bowl?
Hula Bowl. Actually, a lot of guys went from CGS out to Hula Bowl. They're trying to take advantage of whatever
Hula
they
Bowl.
can.
So it's really a platform for guys that don't get invited to any games or any postseason pre-draft I would guess, showcases, and this gives these guys opportunities to do that. Whereas, Kenneth speaks about CGS. Myself, I went to the Senior Bowl, so we saw that the Senior Bowl went on, and it went on like normal. I'm sure it took its precautions, but it still was on television. You saw the different guys get out there and showcase their talent. So I personally, that's the space that I come from. Share a little bit about the journey that you went through. Obviously, it wasn't COVID, but look, the reason you're in the space that you're in now, being an advisor, creating the platform that you're creating, is because you understand what's missing and you've been through every step of the way. So, I feel that is great, and that's a story that doesn't get heard a lot.
Yeah, I think. Sure, the game is the game, man. You're dealt so many different, hands. And so, specifically for my situation, I had an opportunity where, the Senior Bowl was available for me, but I had an ankle sprain that, kind of kept me out of it. And so being able to go to the CGS, I was there. I was able to talk to a bunch of scouts, kind of get in front of them and just share my football knowledge, how I play the game, recognizing defenses and things like that. But as that progressed and I went through that process, I was able to sign with the Chargers as an undrafted free agent. And, that whole process, it's a grind. You know what I mean? You go from, not being at, those bigger bowls. I wasn't at the combine. And so, it was really, you get in and you gotta make your value known right away. And so as an undrafted free agent, all training. I got the awesome opportunity to train with Adrian Peterson out here in Houston at O Athletic. Guy named James Cooper, awesome trainers. And so they were kind of telling me the whole time, it's like, you got to go in, you got to make a big splash as an undrafted free agent. And so, my first game rolls around and we're playing at Tennessee, actually. That was my first preseason game. We were in Tennessee and I go out for like 90 yards, but the last play of the game, I wind up fracturing the shoulder blade. And, miss week 2, week 3, go out there week 4, and he's like, hey, you got to get out here and show us what you got, like, regardless. And so,
threw him out there,
tore it all up, get out there, and I go off, have like a 50-yard run and a touchdown, and then from there it's just, man, that was quite a season because you're trying to find your way, right? I got the opportunity to start a little bit towards the end of the season, but even in my starts and even my time out there, I'm playing with a broke shoulder blade, so. In the back of my mind is like, I'm out here, I'm getting this opportunity that an undrafted free agent needs, but I'm like at 50% with a broke shoulder blade. And so, man, that's just a grind. And then the next year, reconstruction of the ankle and, constantly just pushing through injuries. And, but that's a part of the game, man. And I think the guys that are able to put themselves in a mental space to get to a point, have an injury, start over from square one and get back to that point, that's what's going to, eventually lead to more opportunities. And that's the only thing you can ask for when you're coming from that kind of that bottom tier level like that.
What sort of kind of support do you have? I mean, is it just, like you said, tore it all you up and throw you out there? As a professional player, right? You want to be at the top of your game. Obviously, the team coaches want you top of your game. You can't make excuses, right? So kind of getting out there, man, did you feel kind of on an island and look, this is what I got to do. I got to buck it up if I'm going to make this team, if I'm going to succeed in this league. Like mentally, where are you at? Physically, we just heard, but mentally, where are you at with that?
No, mentally, you're just in, you're in go mode. You're in get it by any means. Like, especially as an undrafted, rookie, it's like the last thing you can do is step away from of an opportunity that's given to you. And so, mental, you just kind of put on those those blinders and you go through it. There was no way, no chance that I was going to shy away from an opportunity, no matter what the physical condition I was in, because, as an undrafted, those come few and far between. So I think that was something that rookie year playing through that shoulder blade, I also got in a car wreck in week 2, which was crazy, to start the season. But that was something that, as an undrafted rookie coming in, you're a younger guy, no matter who you are, when you get into the league, the number one thing you want to do is, earn guys' respect. And so, for me, I always felt like that respect was earned just by being out there in the physical condition that I was in, as opposed to being able to go out there and flash and do everything you can do if you were, fully healthy. And so I think that respect was gained just because guys knew what I was going through. And even at the end of that first season, GM came up to me, he said, fuck the hell out of you, you tough as nails. And so that got me to my second year. But then second year, you get an ankle surgery, and then it's, you just got to pick up the blocks and keep moving. But it's definitely a long little journey to get there.
Keith, I just want to piggyback on that and get your perspective as a veteran, as a captain, right? Seeing guys like that, but even like with the benefit of hindsight, is he doing what he needs to do? Do you expect anything more, anything less?
Nah, I mean, look, he put it in. He put his experience in a nutshell for you. My experience is totally different. Each athlete has their own experience, but I've seen that. A guy that comes in with a lot of talent and gets hurt, and it's the end of the preseason, and he has to get out there and show what he has because he's just been rehabbing. And Kenneth said something that I always felt was true. Football is a very mental game. Like, if you can mentally put yourself in a space to do something, you'll get out there and try your hardest to do it. And, obviously your body will let you know when you're unable to do it. But you'll definitely do what you got to do. And, the whole Toradol thing, yeah, but, that was a thing when I was playing. We played, he didn't play too long after me. So, I always give it up to those guys that go through the rehabs, the surgeries, and all those things early, and then have a long career, or just get back out there to just keep giving it their all until they can't go anymore. And with that being said, obviously, you had your injuries early in the NFL, and then that kind of, knocked your NFL journey off a little bit, took you in another course, but the love of the game still kept you going. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. After that ankle surgery, that was about my second year. Coming off the ankle surgery, you're waiting to get caught up by a team. And I think I went through it was going into my third year. I go through all training camp and get picked up by New England. And that was kind of fresh off of ankle surgery. And so I'm kind of getting my feet back underneath me. Wind up getting released after about 13 weeks in New England. And after that, I was like, man, I need to get back out on the field and just play ball again to get some recent film. I felt like it had been forever since I played. And that's when the AAF had popped up. And so that was something that I jumped at. It was in San Antonio, right down the street from where I was staying. And
the AAF, I'm sorry, cut your AAF what was that? The American
Alliance? Yeah, the American Alliance of Football. So that was,
right.
And I was excited about that, man, because it was a cool opportunity, because you had guys like, I think Hines Ward was kind of talking a lot about that. The Bill Polian was there, and it was just set up from a football player standpoint. It was awesome. They really did a good job from that standpoint. But that wind up going bankrupt and shutting down. But to get out there and to be one of the league leaders in rushing, it was finally like, okay, I've been through all this stuff. Now I finally feel like I did my first rookie preseason game after 2 years of just kind of hell, you know what I mean? And so, that definitely sparked that fire in me, where it's like, okay, I can still do this. I still love the game. I still have fun doing it. And, now we're just kind of in a different space with it and just continuing to go. But, that was kind of what got me back on track and let me know that, hey, I've been through, the ups and downs and got out there and was still able to, lead the league in one of these leagues. And it was like, okay, I can still do this.
Keep going. Now what happened?
Yeah.
League folds. Where you at?
Yeah. So from there, you get into. I got signed right away after that league. That league folded, went bankrupt, and right after that, I guess that was about. This was right April, mid-March. So around this time, similar. And Miami picked me up, and so I go to Miami, and me and Don were talking about this not too long ago. I'm sitting there in the room in Miami, in the running back room during OTAs, and I'm looking around, and I'm the oldest running back in the room. I'm like, oh man, it's only been like 4 years of playing.
What are you, like 25, 26?
Yeah, I'm 26. Yeah, 26 at the time. And football, they say it's a young man's game, and time flew on that one. But hey, I get in there, and I had a good preseason, but they wind up kind of that whole team what was that, the 2018 year, 2019, that whole team kind of, that's the year they kind of tanked or whatever. Everybody said they were tanking for Tua, but I don't know about all that. But it was an ugly situation, and so I wound up leaving there, and then eventually hopping into the XFL.
Before we go there, you had said something to me in the past about you knew you could get into a camp, right? Or possibly make a practice squad. But at some point for you, why are you going to go fly out there, go through all this only, with somewhat certainty within yourself that you're probably not going to make the 53, right?
Right. Well,
I mean, you said you had that sort of in the back of your head, like I could do that or I can do this and go play ball, right?
Yeah. That was just at a point in time where, I think, like I said before, as a football player, and as you fall, whether it's Canada, whether it's a spring league, at the end of the day, you're not going to come out of one of those leagues like you would be coming out of college, and where you kind of have a little bit of a longer leash and opportunity to make that happen. But at the end of the day, your only hope is to get into a camp and make something shake. But, like I said, I got to my things didn't really, go as I planned out to get out there and make the team. I had a couple good runs in the preseason game, and then things just kind of went in the dark. Once the rookies start coming in, you get younger guys in, and being one of the older backs in the room, that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. And so, like you said, I got to the point where, well, shoot, I just, I want to get out here, have some fun, play some football. And so that's when the XFL popped up, and I was one of the top draft picks for that league. And, and that's kind of where, I made that shift to go to the XFL. And then you start to see, kind of all these things start to happen in the XFL. And that's why, like you mentioned earlier, the United Football Players Association is something that we kind of has all come together because of these set of experiences that we've gone through in these spring leagues.
So XFL, we're seeing it on TV every week. Nice shiny product. You got Vince McMahon. You got that WWE flair to it. You got guys sticking the microphone in your face as you fumble, and then stick a mic in your face. How are you? But after that went bankrupt, after that folded, a couple of you guys got together and said, "Look, we've been through it all. Guys from Canada, guys from the XFL, guys from the AF, guys from the NFL." And like you said, then here came the UFPA. And so tell us what that is and why you started.
Yeah, so United Football Players Association, after spending time in the NFL, and like you said, there's guys from all over the place, NFL, CFL. There's, vets in the league, 8 years in the league that were playing in this XFL this past season. And, one of the things that was kind of glaring for the guys that had been in the AAF and the XFL was there was no players association. There was problems with beginning contracts. They said a certain number was going to be going to guys and draft picks, and we get there and they kind of okey doked and switched up that salary to a much lower amount than what was kind of set out in the beginning. And, guys were kind of, what can you do if you don't have a players association? You have no representation. And then, like we talked about, before, it's health benefits, it's things like that. It's just your kind of common stuff that if you're in the NFL, you don't really think too much of it because you think, okay, I'm in the NFL. This comes with the NFLPA. These are things that go down. And then as these spring leagues start to roll out the last couple of years, you realize that, okay, this has to be set up by the players, and the players really need to take part in creating this, or else we're just going to keep finding ourselves in situations where we really don't have a voice in anything that goes on. We're just a part of this business plan that's getting rolled out every year. And so I thought that, as we started to talk amongst each other, players after the XFL folded, it was like it was bigger than just us. Guys aren't trying to get this done for guys coming in now. You look at the landscape of everything going on with COVID and all these kids that have missed, a bunch of opportunities that are usually there for them. These spring leagues become very important. You see guys like Tyler Haneke, you just signed like $8 million deal with the Washington football team, and he was one of the backups in the XFL league. Josh Johnson, there's all types of guys. I think there's like 45, 46 guys that came out from the XFL, and similar numbers with the AAF. So when you see something like that as these guys start to set up these spring leagues, it's a real opportunity for guys, but also there's a hole in that player's representation when that opportunity comes up. So I think collectively that's what we're trying to do is kind of fill that void for guys.
So, take me through, your experience. You go from obviously the NFL is one thing. You got your shoulder hurt, you go through the trainers send you to the doctor, you get your surgery, you get your rehab. Now, in the XFL or the AAF or one of those spring leagues that you speak of, the process, it sounds like it's totally different if you have that same shoulder injury.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one, there hasn't been an off season for either one of those leagues. So, there is no training room. There's no off season rehab or anything like that. And, it's my biggest thing is if you're going out and you're strapping up a football helmet, there's going to be injuries involved, no matter how you slice it. And so when you have guys with ACLs, guys with Achilles, guys with all these things, I mean, you're left on you're left on your own after these things went bankrupt the last couple of years. And so, one of my teammates fractured his neck. And so this was the fourth game of the XFL this year. We were in St. Louis. And he gets carried off on a stretcher, and then the next week it's COVID, everything's shut down, and there is no contact to any type of trainers or anything like that. And my guy, just had a fractured neck, and now he's relying on trying to find outside sources for PT and things like that. And so it was just, things like that we're trying to get something in place to avoid, because at the end of the day, no matter what level of the football it is, and especially if we're out there, we're playing on TV. These were, highly broadcasted. This was a great platform for guys to go on and play, which is why you see so many guys make that jump to the next level. But if that's what it's going to be, I think there has to be things set up for the players, specifically addressing those type of things.
So if there were multiple spring leagues, multiple leagues outside of the NFL, would this union cover every league? Will you try to be the umbrella for all of those leagues, or would you just pick one particular league and go about it that way?
I think that's something that, we just got done talking about, where we really have to look at each league individually, because each league is going to be totally different, right? Whether it's the amount of money they got to start it, location, TV, all types of things. Of course, we want to be able to say, hey, if you're playing football and you're not represented by the NFLPA, we can in some way, shape, or form try to assist you in that league. But we really want to kind of be the, kind of the spark plug for each league individually to say, hey, as players in each league, come to us and we can, work something out for that individual league going forward. And that's kind of what we want to do. I don't think, when we started, we weren't employed by the XFL anymore. We weren't employed by the AAF. So we weren't even a true union, so to say. But it's been great because we've been able to get guys from Arena, get guys from, all these other leagues to come into one melting pot. And then as you start to sprinkle out into these other spring leagues, then now we have a nucleus of guys that can start to address the problems in not problems, but the lack of representation in each league that pops up.
Well, there's the representation side, but I think another strength that you've exhibited is just sort of the knowledge base that you've built, right? So that these guys that are coming out, that are in this uncertain year, right? They don't know anything. There's so much uncertainty, but you have a pool of guys from all these different places that are able to provide just knowledge and transferring knowledge. Like you said, it's not so much for you, but as the guys kind of moving forward. So as much as the on the field stuff, there's just guys that just have straight up questions about process. Like, what do I do? You mentioned CGS and we mentioned like Senior Bowl, Keith, at Senior Bowl, you at CGS. You alluded to it. The guys that are on those lower end bowls or those lower end showcases are the ones that are probably going to filter into these leagues. Now, they all have that mindset that they're going to play 11 years in the NFL like Keith, but even guys like yourself that get the opportunity, there is that, I don't want to say it's a fallback, but there is this opportunity to play on TV every year, every week that that these guys are going to have to take advantage of. So I think, the biggest thing, like you said, that collection of knowledge that you're able to bring. The other part that I feel that you've been questioning and trying to figure out is that there's so much stuff. Like, where do you draw the line of professional football? You talk about your former teammate from Houston's playing in Japan, right? They're reaching out to you, right? You got European leagues reaching out to you. The NAL, right? The National Arena League, which I think they stipend your travel, is like what you get. Is that professional football? The fan controlled football league, is that a video game? Is that football? Where do you draw the line when these guys come to you? I mean, I know you don't want to just say go away, but how do you address that issue of finding that baseline?
Yeah, that's something that I think collectively we've talked about, and we have to come to a kind of consensus and say, hey, if you don't meet these certain requirements as a league coming in, then you can't really call yourself professional, And so, hopefully we can either push the needle for those leagues that aren't at that level to get to that level, and just kind of let them know, like, hey, if you're not having training rooms, you're not having trainers, you're not having health insurance, that's not professional. And so the biggest thing for us is we say, we understand. As a football player, you have to understand, if your dream is to get to the NFL and you're not coming out as a top round pick or undrafted sign guy, like, you're going to have to go through some things that are, going to be tough for your journey to get there. And so I think you can't sit here and say, hey, don't go play in that league. If that's your only opportunity, you feel like that's something that can make you take that step closer, then by all means go do that. But what we want to do as an association is just say, hey, here's what this league is offering. Here's what it is. Everything is completely transparent. You know what you're getting yourself into, and then take that step if you want to, after at least knowing the knowledge. What we're trying to avoid is guys going into a league thinking it's going to be X, Y, and Z, and they get there and there's none of that, because that's happened, multiple times. And so I think that's all you can kind of do, is just kind of let guys know what exactly is going on with each league that may not qualify for that professional, and let them make that decision after they're aware of all the, dynamics of the situation they'll be in.
That's dope. I think it's very important, if I could say anything, for you guys these leagues that aren't established yet, like you guys that have been to the NFL and seen how it's done. And look, we hear of guys, retired guys, complaining about the benefits or that they are receiving or not receiving, or the loopholes and hula hoops they got to go through to receive their benefits, which is their money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think it's important for what you guys are creating to keep your voice, because you always have these people with money that want to get into football and start these football leagues. And if you guys are the people that they have to go through, and look, these are the requirements, because it's all about the players. You can't have a league without the players. So if you get these players, to understand that it's about your health and safety first. Yeah, the money is one thing, but if these people are dangling money and they, like you say, not coming correct with the checks each week at a timely fashion, they're not giving you the proper facilities, the proper nutrition. Look, obviously it's not going to be NFL type, but any league that wants to be sustainable, these are the type of things that they're going to have to do. And it sounds like you guys are creating that blueprint, and make sure that you keep that voice, and, make sure that these people, that are coming to bat really do what they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that it's a group of players. It's literally player driven, right? It's not some outside guys coming in. They're players internally that identified some problems, that are addressing those problems and trying to take care of, like you said, those future generations. Little things too. I mean, we talk about the on the field stuff, a little bit about the health stuff, but even like talking about getting your W-2s back, right? Getting your tax return documents that are caught up somewhere that people don't know about. Bankruptcy claims, guys leaving tens of thousands, not thousands of dollars on the table because no one let them know that this was available to them, right? So little things like that fall through the cracks that, affect a guy day in and day out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It happens at the top level too. There's a lot of guys that don't know how to go get their line of duty. They don't even know how to start, and obviously there are services and there are people that are out there that can help you and assist you with it. You pay them a price, but at the same time, I know a lot of people that have done it on their own. So it's something easy, and it should be when you retire or you're done with the NFL, there should be a stop that you go through, and it's like, okay, this is what you have coming to you as a veteran, as a retired NFL player, having played 3 years, 4 years, 7 years, 17 years. You know what I mean? But there is no space for that. So that's why I think it's dope that that's what you guys are on your way to create, whether you know it or not.
Yeah. And I think that, like you said, I think the biggest thing is, what I've repeatedly told the guys is we have to equip ourselves with the knowledge that we need. So if somebody doesn't tell us, we don't miss out on something. These are things as players we got to know the ins and outs of after you get done playing, or as you're going through some of this stuff. Just either avoid a bad situation or be able to take advantage of something that is there for you, but may not necessarily be broadcasted to you. And so just educating the guys and making them aware of all these situations is, the biggest thing that we're trying to do.
So how would guys get in touch with you, get some literature on what you're trying to do? Maybe some other former players might want to get behind and support and, be a part of it, sit on the board, whatever you guys need. Like, then when Don presented it to me, I thought it was great because I have guys that have played in spring leagues and in the NFL that are friends and going through the same things that you're speaking about. So, I know there would be a ton of retired guys or even guys going through it that would love to support and be a part of this journey that you're beginning on.
Yeah. UnitedPlayers.org. You can go there. There's a join website where you can sign up to the newsletter. And then just myself personally, my DMs are open to, every player that's ever played. And that's a big thing too. We don't, as a players association, like I said, there's guys that have played in the NFL that are part of this, that played in XFL, AAF. When we look at this thing, and like you mentioned earlier, there's guys in NFLPA that have kind of problems with some of the stuff that goes on there. Because this is player created, player driven, there is no outcast to anybody. We want, if you've played the game, no matter what level, I don't care, 60, 50, it doesn't matter, what age. We're trying to build this network up so players can help players. You know what I mean? And that's what this whole thing is about. So UnitedPlayers.org, there's a join tab on there. My DMs are always open. Kenneth M. Farrow on Twitter. That's what we're all about. We want to bring everybody in, this big brotherhood, and be able to help guys out in many different aspects.
Yeah, talking about that network too. Keith's involvement. He's gonna jump on with some guys later in the month and talk about entrepreneurship. Right? Is okay. Here's stuff that you can do while you're playing and prepare you for when you're not playing. And here's advantages that you can take, things you can take advantage of then. I want to leave you both with a question, but I want you to come at it from different angles. For Keith, guys that are on that top of the draft like you were, that are going through the next couple months, what's the one piece of advice you can give those sort of top of the draft guys over these next couple months that maybe you didn't hear?
That'd be tough, man. It's not the same situation. They're in I don't know what they're trying, it's cold. Yeah. I would just tell them to stay focused, do as much as they can during this time to stay focused. Their goals don't change. And control what you can control. And that's always, the advice you give. You can only control what you can control and, be the master of your universe.
And Kenneth, besides joining the UFPA, what advice you offer those guys on the back end of the draft?
Same thing. I mean, that goes for everybody, controlling what you control. But, just for those guys right now, my situation was difficult coming in as an undrafted free agent. The undrafted free agents coming in right now is crazy. I don't know, how they even are getting into camps or whatever they do without the pro days and without some of the things that allow guys to get in there. But if you do get in, my number one thing was what helped me stick was I knew where to be, when to be, and I was going to be there early. You know what I mean? And so for those guys that are coming in at the bottom, you got to make sure that every opportunity that's available, you got to put yourself in there and go all at it, because opportunities are limited right now with everything that's going on. So make sure that whether it's special teams, whether it's whatever, if it's something you never done before, it don't matter. Get out there and go do it. So, get out there.
Well, speaking of controlling things you control, we're going to control the time on this one and wrap it up this week for the outside game. So, Kenneth, thank you for joining us. Look forward to doing some more stuff. We're going to bring you on with us, maybe do some content. We already teased that a little bit. Keith, thank you as always, and we'll talk to everyone next week. I'm Don Povia. That's Keith Bulluck. Thank you, our guest, Kenneth Farrow. We're out of here. Peace.
Peace.